All right, welcome everybody. This is June 17th, 6:30, Select Board meeting, and we are joined by Hopkinton's board. We will open as we normally do with Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That quick roll call. Dave Dunn, Chair of the Select Board.
Norman, select person.
Marlo Herrick.
And we'll go ahead and
Jeff Donahoe, Select Board member.
Stephen Whitley.
Sabrina Dunlap.
Ken Trown.
Sorry, I was gonna say Thomas Lapoma couldn't be with us tonight. Sorry, Neil.
That's all right. I'm Neil Kess, the town administrator in Hopkinton.
all right. And with that, do we have any specific announcements that we need
We
to be
do
making?
not have any announcement. It was fortunately a quiet week.
All right, so I will make the simple announcement that we do have a heat wave coming, so be mindful of your hydration and your personal ability to withstand said heat. All right, so that moves us on to our
I was thinking
topic.
that's what News 9 said.
There you go.
Sorry, I had to add that.
Are you saying they plagiarized?
Well, you know. No.
All right, so moving on, our topic for today is the joint board meeting for the ordinance and the fee schedule for the transfer station. I guess I'll jump in and we'll start with the ordinance after we had our public hearings. The one thing that I will say is that we do need to double check through it, that it no longer says may for any of the fees. I did notice that that showed up once for example, the price of stickers. When we were purposely making sure that everything was gonna be the same across the whole thing. So that, I believe, still needs to be updated before we can sign it. Unless it was and I had an old copy.
Where was that? Remember?
The stickers?
No, the May part that you.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a few.
the one that I saw was stickers because it had removed the see a separate like stickers policy or whatever to leave it the way that it was, and when it was left the way it was, that continued to retain the may. And so we just need to remove the may, and I don't know whether it's shall or will or whatever, but
Section 1 has two mays, but I think they're both appropriate.
okay.
That the town may dispose of waste. And
Oh, yeah.
May create exceptions for other government entities.
So beyond that, after the public hearings, are there any comments or adjustments from either of the boards related to the ordinance and its changes? Or are we pretty well set with that?
I guess and I don't know if this is appropriate for the ordinance or for the specific fee discussion, but I think you were at the public hearing that we had, and there was a good bit of discussion about certain days of the year where people could bring in loads without charge. Like in the example was, I think, Christmas trees in the winter and then leaves in the fall. And I don't, it seems like that ought to be in the ordinance, or at least give the boards the ability to choose those days ought to be in the ordinance. That seems like a more appropriate location in the fee schedule, which is just, just the fees. And I admit I have not thought of where that would be most appropriate, so I'm sorry I haven't taken that next step. But I do think it's more appropriate to be in the ordinance than in the fee schedule.
So I would agree with you if we think that we still need that. So let's circle back to that if we think we still need it.
Sure.
And I'll jump into the fees. Regarding the fee schedule, I talked with the transfer station staff and they had a couple comments that they wanted us to consider. The first was that they're likely to spend more time at the register ringing people up. We should be aware of that sort of thing. The second was that, and this goes to the Christmas tree thing, we should clarify on the fee schedule, much like the ordinance used to do, that the brush charge is for 5 inches and greater. Not for, I brought in some leaves and some sticks that I raked off my lawn. And of course, a Christmas tree is almost never gonna be 5 inches in diameter. So that should, in theory, take care of that without having to do separate days. And I know at your hearing, someone had stated that, no, absolutely everything is now there, so like if you're bringing in a bag of leaves, you have to get charged. The transfer station said that that's not the way that it has worked and not what we plan on trying to do. The second portion for the brush specifically was they liked the idea of us trying to break it down to, well, it's just this for a truckload and this for a carload, but said that they see hundreds of different sizes and shapes of trucks and trailers and everything else. So either we need to define all of them, or we need to just give them a do this by weight. And it had the previous tonnage, even if it wasn't actually getting charged. So I don't know which way the boards would kind of like to do that, but that was their feedback on that.
That's interesting, because that change came from them.
What was that?
That's what.
It was
So-
interesting because the change came from them.
Oh,
To do the truckload instead of the tonnage.
Yeah, so I think the idea was to make it simpler, and maybe that idea originated from one level, and then but speaking with Jolene and company in the office there, it was, this is great, it's much easier to just charge, so like, okay, you did this, you don't have to go across the scale, but we see so many different sizes that we'll need a lot more than that. So I don't know where or how we wanna land on that, but that was one of their things that they said we should consider. And then they asked if we wanted to keep some form of exception for household furniture such as mattresses, chairs, and sofas. I personally think simplicity is better, and that those items don't cost any less to get rid of. So if someone can afford to replace their chairs and sofas often, then they can pay for them to go away too. But that was another of the transfer station comments, so I wanted to make sure that they get brought up so that we can discuss those appropriately. So I guess to go back to the first one, which is the more important one, the brush charge. Do we want to clarify on the fee schedule that it should be 5 inches and greater? Or, as was mentioned by somebody on your board, and I can't remember who, that it should actually relate to everything, not just 5 inches and greater brush. I personally think the 5 inches and greaters makes sense, because that's what goes there and gets chipped and stuff instead of just decomposing, but that's.
And one other thing I wanted to raise that Thomas, and I talked about briefly this morning, I think this came up at the last meeting too, do a brush day once a quarter, he said, or the first day of the month or something like that, rather than personal exemptions, as that will be difficult to enforce. So.
And that leads to the same thing, where if we're trying to say everything has to get charged, then we probably need days like that in the Christmas tree day. If we're saying only 5 inches or however many inches and larger, then we probably don't need to worry about that, because it would never get charged in the first place.
The existing ordinance already has the 5 inches or greater
Correct.
in there, so I don't know that it needs to be added to the fee schedule. Just as long as we all know and recall when this comes up that it's already in
Well,
there.
I think it would make sense to just say brush and stump, brush 5 inches and greater and stumps in the fee schedule, since we're already saying brush and stumps. That way, nobody gets confused about it, and someone doesn't say, well, you're trying to charge me for my bag of leaves, when we're not. Unless, of course, that is the decision by your board that you want to, in which case then we'll have a different discussion. but,
I'm fine with it being, continuing to be 5 inches or greater. And if people wanna add that to the actual fee schedule, you know, I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
is that the consensus
Yeah.
here? Okay. So that sounds
Simple is better.
good. Sorry?
Simple is better.
Yeah, right.
We try. And so that then leads to, how do we want to handle the trucks and trailers versus weight discussion? Do we basically wanna say if it's a car, it's the first fee, if it's a truck, it's the second, if it's a trailer, maybe add a third one above it? And just call it good enough, even though those will be massively different in sizes for trailers, but.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I think the earlier approach, the current approach makes more sense. And it sounds like you're saying that the transfer station employees think it will be less work.
Which?
To do by weight.
Yeah, $100 a ton or whatever.
Oh, so by doing it by vehicle or vehicle type load, et cetera, then they don't have to worry about putting it on the scales, running through the scales, et cetera. So it's a lot quicker and a lot easier to not do it by ton. But then it's less accurate. But we're not, for example, being charged by the ton to do it either, to, for example, have it chipped up. I know we pay for it, but I don't, like, it's not that kind of agreement, so.
Well, it's a fee, and I guess I would look at it as, maybe we have a set rate for what we were just talking about, and then over, cause all trucks are rated by the ton, you know what I mean, your 1 tons, your, right?
Yeah.
And we could set a rate for if you come in with a 1 ton or a 2 ton trailer or whatever, you could rate it, well, I suppose you could rate it that way, and then they could have a chart, and then they don't have to weigh it. I would just be worried, if we don't have some kind of limitation, it could get out
Yeah.
of control.
Wouldn't it, weighing it be fairer? I know it might take a little more time, but it would be fairer to everybody. That's,
Well, and that's usually how brushes or anything is.
But, you know, if
eliminated.
somebody
But-
comes down with one or two stumps in their truck bed, they don't necessarily wanna have to worry, or in the trunk of their car. They don't wanna have to worry about, well, okay, he's got 2 stumps in the back of his car, and we wanna weigh this off and get rid of it, because it basically does nothing.
yeah.
So, that's the trade-off to ease versus perfect, but we don't.
Well, or
The
then
problem
a
is that
chart.
there isn't a tonnage amount that we actually pay, because it's, here's a quantity, now please chip it all up for us, sort of thing.
But it's
I know
still,
you can talk to that better.
well, it's still a cost to
Yeah.
get rid of, and it's still a
Right.
cost to distribute in the sense, so.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I'm thinking about, so like when we do a job and you have to go remove brush, or, you know, let's say I don't have the things or stumps. A lot of times it is done by the vehicle, you know, like a triaxle's this, and then we're not talking that big.
Right.
But maybe we could just add a few more, listing items, you know, and it's pretty straightforward, a 1 ton, or, I mean, if somebody comes in with a dump truck, then, you know, we
That's gotta
could,
be weighed.
right, yeah.
Commercial vehicles have to be weighed.
Yeah, that's right, so, okay, so that's already happening.
So maybe we just say trailer or commercial vehicle by weight, or something?
So the issue with trailers is, right, I got a little trailer I can drive my lawn tractor onto to move it over.
That's
to my
right.
friend's house.
Right.
That's 8 feet. I would say 8 feet and under is 10 or
There you
15
go.
bucks, whatever. Over 8 and up to 16 is 25 or 30, and then 16 to 24 if we wanna do that, or we could say we don't accept them.
Yeah, so, how, in order to try and make it less different things,
And then
we
who's gonna
have car
determine?
and I believe 1-ton truck listed right now. I should actually pull
You
that.
pass
We don't
Okay.
have cars.
Passenger
Passenger
truck.
truck
Oh, passenger
versus
truck and
1-ton
1-ton.
truck.
And what's a 1 ton truck at? I don't, sorry, I don't.
Oh, 20.
$20.
10 and 20.
Okay,
Um,
but a trailer can't be much, I mean, it can be smaller, but Would you be worried that you're asking them to know what size the trailer is that's out
I mean,
there? I would be a little concerned of that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Or maybe they
if it's
know.
under 8 feet, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, okay.
You know, a truck bed is either 6 feet or 8 feet.
True.
And I was gonna
true.
say, how about we make this really simple? Truck beds or trailers under 8 feet in length,
Perfect, yeah.
and just all of that goes in the second bucket.
That's a good idea, Dave's.
So 1-ton truck / trailers over,
Well, instead of one ton
Under.
truck, it's just, well, I guess passenger, I'm still confused between 1-ton truck versus passenger
Yeah.
truck, cause,
So I have a 4-door Chevy
Yeah.
pickup. It's a half-ton pickup.
oh, well,
Is
yeah,
it a
a half-ton
passenger?
but,
Would you be
And-
charged as a passenger truck though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
'cause I don't have a 1-ton truck. I can't pay for the gas on that.
Right? There's different.
But a 1-ton truck can carry twice as much as my truck. I don't know.
If the weight matters anyway.
Yeah.
But,
Well, one thing about brush is that unless they got something heavy in there, it's not that.
Yeah, it
Big
doesn't,
snubs.
doesn't weigh out as much as it hulks out.
so, maybe just 1-ton truck and trailers less than 8 feet in length, and call it good. Does that
I
make
guess
sense?
the question then is, if I have a 12-foot trailer, what are you gonna charge me? Or I can't come in.
25 bucks.
As long, we can put a number to it, it's fine. I don't care what the number is. If my trailer's full of stuff, I gotta get it out, I'm gonna pay.
Mhm. Well, if 8 is 20, then
12 would be-
another 4 would be like another $10, if you wanna just scale it the way that it is. But maybe we say another $10 per 4 feet of trailer length or something like that.
And that's a little tougher, because the
But-
staff has to measure it,
Right,
or ballpark it.
yeah. And so, I don't know what the best answer for that is, but we're trying to take and put this towards residents who would drop this off.
What
There
was
is,
it?
of course, some of the builders, landscapers, et cetera, in town will probably wanna take some stuff over from people in
Good.
town. So there should be some sort of commercial or weight or larger
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
setting, but I don't know,
Wait.
should we just say larger is $30?
Yeah, but how large could larger be?
Well, cause whoever they hired to come in and chip it up, they don't do it by the weight, they do it by the ton, right? Or they do it by like feet, I don't even know,
I have no idea.
Does anybody know how?
I think it's a fee to come in and do what.
Just a fee, somebody comes in with
Yeah,
a
it's a
grind or
time
whatever.
fee.
So weight doesn't really matter in that case, it's just,
Right.
it would be more volume.
Can I ask something, though? If they chip up stuff at the transfer station, can people take it and bring it home? Other people?
If they leave it there, some of it gets hauled out
Oh, okay, just was
and
wondering.
shipped separately.
Yeah, if you want like mulch or something for you, I don't know what size it is, but, okay.
So do we wanna try to figure out a tonnage, or do we wanna just say over that is X amount, which may cover what, 2 or 3, probably 2 or 3 sets of folks that would probably come in that way? Cause it's not like we take from out of town anyway, so.
I would hope not.
I think if you do anything
That's the
larger,
idea,
30
not to
bucks.
take it from out of town.
What was that, Neil?
I would do anything larger, $30.
Larger than
Yeah.
1 ton
Yeah,
in an 8-foot trailer?
yeah.
So, and what you suggested would be 1-ton truck plus trailers less than 8 feet. So what about,
Yeah, 1 ton or a trailer less than 8 feet.
what about trucks that are not a ton, like Jeff's truck?
That's a
They fall under
passenger.
this little
That's, oh,
passenger
the key
truck.
passenger, okay, gotcha, sorry, okay,
Or I pay extra for the trailer.
okay.
So,
If, 1-ton truck has an 8-foot bed.
What was that?
A 1-ton truck has an 8-foot bed.
Oh, okay.
That's why I came up with the trailers 8 feet or less.
And for an 8-foot, it's $20, so it's $5 every 2 feet. So if you go further than that, you gotta kind of coordinate it by the footage of the bed, I would think, versus the tonnage, to avoid the confrontation that possibly could arise with like 6-foot, 8-foot accordingly. Just a thought.
Can I get your name for the minutes?
Gary Rondo.
So, it sounds like we were landing on passenger stay at 10, 1-ton, trailers less than 820, and then anything larger, 30.
Yeah, that's weird.
Does that seem reasonable to both boards then? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
all right, that moves us to the furniture portion of that, which can be done one of two ways. One could be to exclude particular items. Another would be to put back in a poundage free that we had purposely wanted to get rid of to keep things simple. Or to say, well, no, we do want people to actually pay for that stuff, even if we haven't put specific, like a mattress on the fee schedule like many other places do. What is the feeling of your board from that?
When you say furniture,
So examples given were household furniture such as mattresses, chairs, sofas that will occasionally show up in, you know, trucks or trailers or whatever to be tossed when someone got a new one. And the question was, do those then get weighed for tipping?
So the discussion that happened at the meeting when Dan and Jolene were there was that the mattresses go in the hopper, and the discussion there was not to charge, to continue to not charge for them. I don't know about other furniture, but that was the discussion that happened.
yeah, I actually don't remember talking about other furniture. I remember the mattress discussion. What do we currently do with furniture?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Currently, nothing's done because it falls within the under X number of pounds free.
Right.
The sofas and chairs, it depends on what they're made out of, for the majority of it, what happens. Usually, like your cushions and stuff would get tossed in the hopper, and if it's an old-fashioned style one that's mostly wood, then it would go into the demo pre-sorted woods. If it's like a lazy boy or something, it will, if it's taken apart, get put into wood and into the metal pile. If it's not, I'm not sure. And if it's like lawn furniture, then it goes into the metal scrap pile, and that's actually good for us.
Yeah, but lawn furniture can be plastic too. Are we talking about that?
Well, the plastic ones, sure, but
Just-
those,
yeah.
those have like no weight or anything.
Yeah, no,
so-
that's true.
Or depending on the particular piece, it may or may not be able to fall into some of the large-scale plastic recycling. They have, the last sets of times, they were taking less of that, so that had to stay out of that recycling pile now.
Oh, yeah.
Or the company wouldn't take it from our transfer station like they used to.
Oh,
So
okay.
it unfortunately, it changes over time.
Yeah,
But, anyway, so I wanted to bring it up because that was their comment. I personally don't think we need to change anything, but that's me, and it was worth bringing up for people to comment on.
So like the comment was that we should consider,
Whether we wanted to not charge for things either specifically or by a certain weight so that they don't have to worry about it. Like when a sofa comes in, do they weigh the sofa?
right, okay. So if we stick with status quo, mattresses will still go in the hopper, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing with,
Well, so we were removing a weight-free limit. So they do, right now they go, well, that'll be under the weight, we're not gonna weigh it, toss it in. And so to maintain the status quo, we would actually list those items. And that could be as a $0 fee on the fee schedule, so that if in the future it needed to be changed, it could, but.
Yeah, I'm okay putting on the fee schedule at 0 for now, if we have to change it, we'll change it.
what was that, Jeff? Add it to the fee schedule, then?
And leave it at 0, and
Yeah.
we'll change it if we have to change it. We have more flexibility in changing it now.
And is that for all furniture, or just the sort of 3 items that have been singled out, mattresses, sofas,
The
chairs?
3 items were singled out because that's what matters towards residences.
Okay,
The comment that I would make against this would be that we've also removed the difference between commercial and residential, because we just want it to count for what it is. And if we put an exception of chairs, for example, there's a lot of office chairs that show up that are not something that can go in the metal scrap pile. So then we're saying, go ahead and bring that free, and right now, they get charged for it, because the free amount only applies to residents.
residential. Yeah.
I think it's unusual to take it for free.
Yes,
Most transfer stations I'm aware of charge for that.
yeah.
You gotta pay to get rid of that.
So if we wanted to single out ones that would impact well, I can't even say residents only, but would be much less likely to impact commercial, would be to skip chairs and make it mattresses and sofas, or love seats.
I kinda like that approach, to leave chairs out of it.
Also just say household furniture versus commercial furniture must be weighed.
Or just do mattresses
Yeah.
and skip the
if
others.
we just do
Mattresses are the things that
mattresses,
get dumped
Yeah.
more often throughout town, so maybe that's the one thing to separate. And that goes in the hopper, which is different than chairs.
True. And the hopper is probably the most expensive thing that we have to
That is
deal with, so that would make sense, is let's single out the mattress, because it's also the thing that's gonna weigh the least,
Yeah.
in most cases. So is the consensus then to add mattress for 0 to the fee schedule
I'm good with that.
and ignore the other 2? Okay. With that, that brings me to what I heard from a couple different residents at both public hearings. Was that they were asking that the tipping fee would go up incrementally to catch up instead of all at once. I love this constructive idea, but with fees highly likely to go up dramatically again at the next waste renewal contract, we wouldn't catch up. So I think that, while I hear and like the comment, I think that fees should match now as we had decided to set them, and then go up in similar fashion each time the contract price does, rather than getting behind like we are now. But that was a comment that I heard at both meetings that I thought was absolutely worth having the boards talk about.
I agree with your position on that.
Okay. Does anybody else have other comments or feedback that they wanted to provide from the public hearings for changes or consideration on the fee schedule?
I guess more of a question where we've eliminated the enforcement of green bags on our side. What if empty trash comes in with a load of green bags?
I think
Are they
it's still,
charged?
I think it's still no fee for those.
Okay. Should that be somewhere in here then?
So the normal ordinance for the transfer station says that it will also apply from your green bag ordinance, which I believe is the part that says that it's free or something, but in any case, that's your ordinance, your green bag ordinance, and you can change that as your board if you decide that you need to do that. I will say that by having free dumps or free tips with green bags, especially at the prices that they are, though that doesn't really matter to us as Webster, having free tips of green bags does actually mean that we subsidize your green bag program.
You actually get credit for those.
No, we don't get credit for any green bag sales.
You get credit for the weight that comes out of there, that's separate.
Oh.
That was the way it was set up
Oh, okay.
originally, just because of that.
Okay, perfect then. I rescind that comment then. I missed that portion of it.
Another one of those complicated little things
Yeah.
that are in the
Yeah.
formula.
It must be hidden someplace in your green bag ordinance that I missed.
Yeah, and in the formula when the bill is done.
Okay. So that's it as far as fees for me. Did you have any further? You said you had that question, and was there more?
I guess we should be discussing whether we want a permit for the stickers at $5. That was an issue for discussion. You know, I'm fine with that, I just don't know if there's a consensus.
So, again, just relaying what Thomas and I talked about, he was in favor of keeping the fee to help us potentially have some money to do something further on enforcing residency. So like whether that's potentially something technology-wise in the future, or even just like creating a space for someone to sit to check stickers, that could help offset the cost of doing that, so. And I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
My comment there would be that without changing the ordinance and the way that we do stickers or entirely, $5 a sticker is really only gonna be a few people that are new each year from each town. So it's not really gonna offset anything. It'll give us a few bucks, but it's not like we're talking everybody's gonna buy a sticker for $5 every year. So in that sense, I completely agree. We had decided that $5 was a sensible thing just to cover the costs of doing it. And that if we are going to do something different, then we look at the fee at the same time for whatever that different thing is.
And we definitively landed on only new cars having to buy, I mean, only like maybe newly registered or whatever.
I think if you do the $5, that's it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't switch to a system where.
Yeah, because it's not
Everyone's-
changing the system that
changes
currently is there,
Okay.
which is a sticker is forever.
A sticker is forever.
Yes, a sticker, currently a sticker is forever, and this is not expecting to change that.
I can't help it, it comes in my mind, we have to register our dogs for 7, but no, anyways,
Yeah, we,
just saying, every year.
we obviously will also need to have future discussions for the related topics, like enforcement of stickers, enforcement of limitation of Hopkinton and Webster residents, future transfer station plans and designs, and upgrades, PFAS mitigation timelines and costs, et cetera. And so if we have time following the fee and ordinance discussion, we have probably a 5-minute abatement thing, and that's the only other thing for us tonight. So I'd be happy to start some of those discussions if you also have time. But if not, consider this a request for our administrators to figure out that next point for at least the sticker / enforcement and the PFAS portions. On that note, though, a Hopkinton resident from your public hearing, their suggestion was an automated gate with RFID tags and similar, to enforce that only residents that had that could go through. That wouldn't require additional staff for enforcement. There's a lot of positives to it. But that would also require capital and budgetary expenses and stuff to implement. So that's one example that hopefully we get to if we start having that discussion, because we would need to talk about it for either CIPs or for budgets in the near future. But we're trying to finalize ordinance and fees, so any more comments on the ordinance and fees?
I did not have any more.
Okay, seeing none on the boards, well, this is not a public hearing, and we do have some public, so does any public wish to make a comment before we move on?
Gary Rondo, my only comment is on the RFID gate, which I fully endorse, and I believe Sabrina or I had a text exchange at the last meeting with Thomas, and he apparently ran the numbers, and the $5 fee per household would pay for that RFID gate to be put into place, which would definitely eliminate a person, enforcement problem, out-of-towners, confrontation, and really simplify what we're trying to do here for the staff at the transfer station that doesn't really necessarily need more to do with all the, brush, weight. This guy's gonna come in with a 1 ton full of twigs rather than a 1 ton full of, 8-inch pine boards or 8-inch pine. So those things that's another story altogether, but the concern is who's using it, and we're paying for a lot of out-of-towners, and it can be simplified without additional staff. There is gonna be an expense up front, but as Thomas texted me, and it's on my phone, he just said and Thomas is a numbers guy, he's said $5 per household will pay for that system.
To be fair.
I'm sorry?
I think Thomas was assuming that was a $5 fee
Yes.
per household per year.
Per year.
An
Yeah.
every year fee. Because
Well-
if you're only
Okay.
That's what I'm
Doing-
concerned about.
I've tried to have a discussion with Thomas, how hard that is to do. Okay.
and they've done that many times.
All right,
But if you only are doing 500 households per year, for example, it's only $2,500
right.
versus getting every household in town, which is $12,500 for Hopkins.
Yeah.
You guys are probably
So-
about 800
What
households.
would be?
So there'd have to be some numbers run,
Yes.
due to the percentage that even just you yourself found out on one day versus how many days it's open versus what possibly accumulative, so on, so on, so forth.
I'm not against the gate,
Right,
I wanna make sure that we understand that Thomas's fee is every house in
So,
town.
so thank you for that
Thank you.
comment. I assume you were going towards the $5 fee there, because this is about the fees and ordinance first. We might get into the enforcement next.
you asked the question.
But that's why I'm asking. Is there any more comment, et cetera, on the fees and ordinance? I believe you had wanted to say something as well. No, okay. On that note, I would move that we accept the new and amended ordinance and fee schedule as displayed and then discussed. Do I have
Second.
this?
Second?
I'll let them second it.
Okay.
'Cause he said it first.
Yeah,
Okay.
Then
like we're
it's the other
selfish
board.
over
Be
here.
fast. Not fast enough.
Since it's both towns, I think we might as well do a roll call. So,
Yes?
well, sure.
Would you like a
I don't know which
motion?
person is taking the minutes,
Both of them, probably.
I guess we'll just go.
Well, no, I don't know, roll call, so did
Yeah.
you say your name and then?
Normally, that's why I
Yeah.
was looking for which
Right.
one of them was doing the minutes.
Okay, go ahead,
But,
say your name.
Okay, Normandy Blake, yes?
Marlo Herrick, yes.
David Hemingway, yes.
Jeff Donahoe, yes. Stephen Whitley, yes.
Sabrina Dunlap, yes.
And Ken Trom, yes.
So it passes unanimously of all those in attendance, which is of course a quorum of both boards. Perfect. We can now move forward, and I assume Neil will have that all prepared for us to sign at our next sessions, and it can all go into effect, I believe,
August
it would be
1st.
August
It's
now,
the way-
right? Yeah.
Do we-
Because there's
do
the
we-
first of the month, at least 30 days from.
Correct.
yeah.
Okay, is that gonna be enough time? Can we push it out if needed?
For what?
August 1st is in the ordinance.
Okay, okay.
That's 6 weeks.
I mean, if we're gonna push it out any further than that, we're into when we should be starting to discuss changing it again anyway.
Right,
For next year's
Okay.
budget, so. This will probably be the shortest lived fee schedule ever. So yes, there we go.
Gee, really?
We're gonna
To,
complain about that.
So do you wanna move into discussion of the enforcement and, residential issue, or do you want to say, let's save that for another time?
Dana and I had talked about doing an update on the cleanup, so.
Oh, yes,
I'm
perfect.
Prepared to do, I think it's easier for me
Sure.
to do it in one room.
That would be awesome. I've asked a few
Are they
times
still one
about that,
gold?
so-
Still want gold.
Out of gold? But what?
The numbers haven't changed.
The
Yeah, right,
PFAS
but
stuff.
That's-
yeah, what was the number again? Millions, billions?
It's millions.
Billions and billions.
Oh, yeah, 3.6.
So that is, and the options are attached, which you've seen before, which is good. So the option looked at is the excavation and closure and putting everything there, which the total cost of that is 3.8. The engineering has been in the operating budget, which is underway. The timeline largely hasn't changed either. The remedial alternative report has been submitted to DES. Right now, the land surveying and all of the test pitting and all of that is happening. In the fall would be the start of the design, permitting process and preparing the facility. Then, the assumption is a bond at town meeting, and there may be some discussion of that. I think when the landfill was closed before, Hopkinton got the bond, and then there were just regular payments, so my guess is that's probably the best way to go. Spring and summer of '25 would be the excavation and dewatering of the residual material, and in '25 or '26 would be the construction. Attached to is a memo of the grants, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan application which we've submitted. There could be forgiveness of principal. Would be a below market loan rates with no closing costs or origination fees, no prepayment penalties. Disbursement is done as the money is needed. And interest on disbursement is just 1% until the project is complete. Loan repayments begin a year after. There's a timeline in the memo that talks about when, we should know by the end of August if we've received this. DES, because this is kind of one of the first PFAS cleanups, DES has been very positive and said we really should get something. There should be amounts forgiven, but we won't know that until August, but at least we'll know in August, which will help. We did look into a congressionally directly funded grant. We did not fall into the criteria, so we did try that and spent quite a bit of time working on that. One of the other factors is DES will allow us to remove from our wastewater treatment facility the sludge that's there and cap it all together, which means that would lower the cost at the transfer station because it would be absorbed we'd have to figure out percentages and all of that, but that could be a real positive, both for the wastewater treatment facility as well as for the closure.
And when and how would we expect to see some figures around that so we can actually start thinking about the costs?
By the end of the summer, I've asked to have all of that, so that could all be, so I would assume probably in August or the very beginning of September, a joint meeting to really go through all that. The engineers are working now with final costs, but so far, the original costs have stayed where they are. We did, in the application to DES, include a 10% contingency, which hopefully we wouldn't need, but we wanted to make sure that was in there. We should be getting a lot more information by the end of the summer.
How do you even compare these numbers to anything?
Yeah.
I'm
That's-
just looking at the breakdown and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do with the 1.2 million.
Yeah.
I mean, it says, but I just,
And the
where's it going? What is, what's it doing?
the alternative of hauling it off was in the $14 million range.
And
These
where
are-
are
but you're
they
right.
hauling it? Where are they taking it, right?
Canada,
Yeah, yeah.
literally.
Oh, that's nice.
Canada?
That's nice.
Yes.
Really?
So,
Wow.
They don't mind PFAS up there.
I know, that's surprising.
at the moment.
Do it quick.
Same idea with their electricity, flooding their lands, they don't mind that either.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Neil, the 190,000 engineering that's in the operating budget, how long should that carry us?
That does all the engineering.
So
That's phase
basically
one.
through this year.
All of phase one, through this year. Yes. And then we're looking at the timeline, yeah, the design and permitting. It does not include clearly the excavation and dewatering. That's the construction phase.
So Neil, I think you were saying what will be kind of one of the first ones,
We are.
as far as what you're hearing anyways?
Right, from DS, that's basically what they said, and they said we should get looked at favorably for this.
Might be a good idea to be the first ones. I think that might be a really good idea.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes it's good and sometimes
Yeah,
it's
right,
me.
exactly. I'm not feeling it's a good idea, but
But-
that's just me. I'm feeling there's a lot of guessing here. Not you guys, in these numbers, this is,
Problem is that the standards are only gonna get worse, not.
well, that could be, so she could be right.
That's
You
true.
could get
Or they'll
away with
figure it
a
out.
little bit more, maybe.
Well, so the real worry slash question of going first
How do we pay?
is, why were we the first ones to have to do this? And then also, since things do continue to change, if we do this to the best practices now, are they gonna turn around and say, well, it's not good enough in another 5 to 10 years, and make us do something else again? That would be horrific. And is there any sort of safeguard against that we can do, or that we have?
I would think with the government, there's never a safeguard personally, things change so fast.
Unless it's in the legislation.
I'm sorry?
I said
Yeah.
unless
Yeah,
the-
right,
there's a
exactly.
grace period built into the legislation, I would say we're probably at the whim.
Was this even legislation? I thought this was a DES. We changed the numbers that matter. That's not
Yeah,
in
you might be
legislation.
I don't think there's a standard right now for
Yeah.
PFAS contamination.
How do they intend to do this? What's the process?
So the sludge gets removed,
Where's it go?
it gets,
Just get moved aside?
But
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna end up,
just
it's gonna end up there.
I'll just give you my copy since I've read the stuff that
Yeah.
I think you have already.
Go ahead.
But that'll give
That's
you
like
the,
Basically,
It's
creating,
that'll give you the short version of it.
So it's, all right, so it's almost gonna be like mitigated like sand, like it, that.
Well, it's gonna be like the landfill.
Okay.
Ba-
the
yeah,
landfill,
basically
like
it's
dredge. and lined, and then clayed,
And there.
Yeah,
and then filled,
Yeah.
and then clayed. That's how the landfill was it not? Clay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the
I
layers.
think that was clay to
layers
prevent
are,
permeation, and it was vented.
One advantage is we already have all the test wells all
Yeah,
the way
nice.
around
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
site, so we're, that, we won't have to certainly add.
What if we were to not do, what if we were not to do this?
So that's certainly a choice, and there's no guarantee it would pass town meeting. That's a choice.
I just being as, and there again, I probably haven't done the research that I should, but this, first of all, the amount is, like I said, I didn't know if we're lacing everything with gold, but, on top of that, I feel like all of a sudden, we had all the permits in place, we were doing the right thing, and then somebody decided it wasn't right anymore. Like, golly,
how many other towns have that problem?
well, exactly.
Well, I think more are going to as those permits
Right.
become.
I mean,
Oh,
it's,
was it that our permit lapsed, and so when we went for a renewal, it wasn't
No.
good enough, or?
Right.
No, it was part of the ongoing, the permit that had been renewed numerous times. And
So
I-
it was when we went to renew it, though?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
during the renewal process that,
but it wasn't like we had lapsed, and it's not like it hadn't
We had
been
not.
approved, and so where's the weight on DES for approving it all these years? And now all of a sudden they say, and I know that this is probably a conversation, but, I mean, I'm just common sense here, I just don't know how they all of a sudden decide to say, and then you get numbers like this, I mean, what town could ever budget for something like this?
and I think largely the rules didn't change, but the enforcement of them did.
And I think we should come a little bit harder down on that part of it.
I don't know how we do that other than to try to sue DES.
Yeah, I think that's risky.
I think that's a.
Oh, I still, well, you say that, but, okay, DES, what are you gonna do with me? What are you gonna do to the town if we don't spend $3.8 million to clean it
We're,
up?
Slap
we're
a-
running a,
Slap an administrative order on us?
yeah, exactly, we're running something in defiance and not in compliance with the state regulatory.
But it was in compliance prior to them deciding it wasn't anymore.
Yeah, but the science is always changing, that's the whole thing, this whole country is changing the science and what they know and,
Certainly
in my
PFAS is new.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
It's
you-
not
'cause
new,
you-
but.
Well, you're just starting to hear it on the news, right?
Right.
Right? Good
It's-
old News 9,
yeah.
I get it.
The
Letting you
first
talk
time
about
I
it.
heard about it was 1992,
1992?
and EPA said it was a contaminant of concern. And then it just got worse and worse and worse, and then it was all of a sudden, oh my God.
Out of control.
but in years past, people would, years past, put stuff in their, dig a hole in their yard and throw it all in there and be done with it.
That's
Now
why
it's
we have
all
such
the rules.
contaminated well water in New Hampshire.
Pardon?
That's why we have such contaminated well
Yeah,
water in New
exactly.
Hampshire, it's terrible.
Well, look at, they used to
Well, that's why we
pollute
have rules and
Merrimack River.
regulations.
I mean, the cities used to.
True, but it's not that us as a town, we're not following those
Yeah.
rules and regulations.
As someone who grew up where the river changed colors and occasionally set fire every day, much because of the plastic industry that was surrounding it in my hometown. I'm thankful that we're not there anymore, but I still wouldn't want to swim in it. So it is good that things progress and get more stringent for, yeah, the river probably shouldn't spontaneously set itself on fire and be different colors. But, yeah.
Oh, sorry. On this point, I've lost track of, like, have we been able to engage though with DES about, like, giving us a longer timeline or anything, or has it been, I can't recall.
We have not requested that.
Mm-hmm.
They have been working with us, but we've also been moving it forward.
Yeah.
I think probably once we get the engineering done and the full scope is there, that would be a decision time.
Would we know how much of a grant we might be getting before town meeting,
August,
this August?
yes.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
August, the timeline for the grant is
Oh,
really by
August.
the end of August. We should know if we can get the low interest loan as well as how much of that would be forgivable. We should know even before then, but it will be finalized.
Because that would be important if we're going to town meeting and presenting the bond, this is how much is being covered elsewhere.
So,
And so where do you even get comparable numbers, though? See, that's just like a Yankee in me.
We don't.
I say, somebody, they come up with this, and like everybody's asking, we know there's specific things that they're going to do, but how do they come up with that price? It just seems crazy to me.
So the actual construction part can all go out to bid.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is just an estimate.
The engineering, and certainly Novus has been our engineers there,
They've been around for a long time.
For the dump.
right?
So they're just taking what what DES is saying has to be done to clean it up, as we talked about hauling it to Canada and dumping it somewhere.
Right, they
or-
created the options that are, this is the Novus report, shows the alternatives.
You know, the basic cost to construct a lined landfill it's a relatively known number, right? You know how much it costs to dig the hole, you know how much it costs to put the liner in, you know how much to put the clay in, move the soil over there, do whatever they have to do to it beforehand. Those are, I mean, it's a relatively common construction number. The PFAS factor is probably a few extra safety people hanging around while they're doing it. But from a practical, it's a lined landfill, that's really what it is.
So even if we bid it, the number may not change a whole lot.
Oh, and I wasn't even, I was just saying these numbers that they come up with.
In a way, I kinda think it's better to be one of the first ones in there, because then the state or DES may decide, you know, once we're done, that other people will have to do more stringent things.
And since I'm always so popular at these meetings,
I'm sorry?
since I'm always so popular at these meetings,
Oh,
you know, you could over-engineer it, overbuild it, and accept other people's problems for a ton of money. But-
Yeah, you could, wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could build this 5 times the size. Oh, we're on record, right? Jeff Donahoe said that.
Would you say make it bigger so that then you can take some of the material, instead of going to Canada, just bring it to Hopkinton?
Yeah. And so the difference from our price was 3.8 million versus 13.8 million. 10 million transportation costs. I'll take half of that. Bring your stuff over.
Fix our roads.
Wouldn't even be enough to fix
Yeah,
it.
no, we drop it.
Couple of miles.
But that's only one site. That's what the difference in our budget was. You could take it from 50 towns in New Hampshire and repave every road here and in Webster. I know it wouldn't be permitted. I know that people would go crazy, but, you know. I worked on an incinerator project 25 years ago.
Huh?
The ash landfill was the most valuable piece of the whole deal.
The EDC would have to rethink our logo. Our slogan. We did that.
so
You were on that?
regarding the
Not this one, not that
loan
one.
and bond, if there has to be a bond, I think, yes, it makes the most sense for Hopkinton to go forward, and then, you know, everybody would just pay on the operating budget as appropriate. The loan, though, if we get approved for it, would that be expected to cover the whole cost of it? So then it would be something that we could, for example, pay off early instead of, well, we have a bond for 20 years. Or is it only for part of it? Or, like, how does that work out?
Our hope is we could get the loan for the entire amount, and of that, some of that would be forgivable. Probably not all of it, but, so it could be paid if it was this, because
And
this
so
is.
if that happened, then you wouldn't need to go for a bond.
You would need that same approval. It's basically getting a loan from DES, so it's the same requirements.
Okay.
As far as the vote of town meeting to do that. So it would require the same vote. But there's no origination cost, there's no,
Okay.
that could save, well, bond council's 5,000 plus, so that could save substantially.
that's a good savings, so, yeah.
With this being one of the first ones to get done, is there any assurances that you could get from DES that if they were to change in the future, because you brought that up, that they would step in and be responsible at that point if they come up with something new, because right now we're current, and we're the first one, so we're the experiment. You know, and everybody's always, you know, you're responsible for the experiment until it's dead, right? So, is there a possibility to get something from DES that says, this is what we know now, okay, so we're gonna go current, but what happens if something's in the future, which is not our problem, or you know, what happens then? Because things are always changing, and we're the first ones go.
I guess I worry that we don't have any leverage to push them to agree to that.
You gotta ask.
Sure, we can ask.
Right? And it's not, it wouldn't be a push, it would be a sensible ask, because we are the first ones. I mean, you know, if
I
somebody.
can't imagine any DES lawyer saying, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's get on the hook for potentially hundreds of $1 million
Well, cause
down the road.
I
of what
understand,
just
I
happened,
understand.
to be honest with you, I mean, we were getting, it wasn't like we were a town that just did what we wanted and didn't get the permits. But never a bad question to ask, but I'm thinking the same thing, I'm like,
Yeah.
look what they did, they came in and said, oh, no.
Well, and I think I'm sort of digging back in the memory banks here a little bit, but I think the issue became, they test the stuff every year, but the testing standards got stricter
Yeah.
over time.
Right.
And so we were always in compliance, and now we're not. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's the real driver for this whole thing, I think.
Yep.
And it's gonna change next, who knows, next week,
Well, I think-
next year, everything, because different things come up.
But once it's buried, they won't test it anymore.
Yeah,
Oh, they promise?
yeah, right, are you kidding me?
Santa Claus is coming down the
Yeah.
chimney,
I think that's probably likely, other than the wells, which won't be monitored.
Right.
They're gonna be moving on to other places for the
They're gonna
most
be
part.
way too busy in other towns to
Yeah.
come back and bother us.
Bankrupt towns.
Okay, well, thank you for the update. I look forward to August where you can tell us that all of the loan will be forgiven.
Dream
No
on.
pressure, Neil.
I mean, DES made us the first, so they're gonna pay for it, right?
Yeah, all right.
Well, it's
Well,
something
you
to
never
come.
know, you gotta ask.
So thank you. Did you wanna continue towards either the, discussion of, like stickers and enforcement, or, any of the other topics? As it's still only 7:30.
I
I
think,
would personally like to not continue.
But that's perfectly an option.
It's a,
unless,
I think sticker enforcement is an operational thing that we need to just do,
Figure
based
out.
on the ordinance first, unless something's going to change.
So, you folks had obviously gone out and done some sticker enforcement on a random day.
yep.
Just my spitball thinking on this is that without any public announcement of it, we should probably coordinate 2 or 3 days to randomly go do this with a board member or two, like maybe a board member from each town or something, and one of the police officers from either town, if you're trying to enforce versus correct. And if we're just trying to correct, then a board member from each town. But the problem would then be that it is supposed to be the town clerk, because they're getting all the information and handing out the stickers and charging for stickers. And so how
So
how
that-
should we best make this work going forward? Because I think at least the ad hoc random makes perfect sense. I don't necessarily think that we should turn the transfer station into let's dog and chicken check every single sticker, but
So last time, there were 5 of us. And the reason for that was if you didn't have a sticker and you were willing to show us your license or your vehicle registration, we would give you a sticker at that time. You had to pull over, we had to check the information, get the sticker, record all that. And so 5 people was about right on a Saturday morning, as busy as the transfer station is. We did 180, I think, people over that time period. If it was a, you know, Wednesday at 10 o'clock, I think that level of traffic is probably different, so you may not. And if we're not giving out stickers, if it's just, you know, you have a sticker, you get in, you don't have a sticker, you get out. I'm sorry. You had a chance to get a sticker, it was publicized, it was in the newspaper. That's a different level of effort. You could do that with two people, I think. But if you're trying to give out stickers to people who don't have them, and then if you're gonna charge for them and collect money and do all that stuff, it's a more complex operation, requires more than two people.
Now, I don't happen to know what your staff is. When is your clerk's office open?
We're open 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday, and 8 to noon on Friday.
Okay. So if we picked, say, a Monday and a Wednesday when the transfer station's open, and the clerk is also open, it would be fair to say, please go see the town clerk and then come back, as opposed to the people there having to sign up and give them their
It's a much
stickers.
easier process.
And that would allow for the normal process to happen. How was it handled, and what happened when you were seeing, for example, somebody from Concord without a sticker? Like, how did that go down?
So the question at the front gate, right at the front gate, was, do you have a sticker? No. Are you from Hopkinton or Webster? No. You have to leave. And, you know, people made a 3-point or 6-point or 9-point turn, turned around and left. There were a few people who stopped and were turning into the driveway or were about to turn and saw that we was checking stickers and they left. And presumably those were out of towners as well.
Did anyone give you grief? Like,
It's
did
funny,
anything escalate?
actually, two people who actually live in town gave us grief. Very obstinate. They had company vehicles, one with a Vermont plate. And, you know, this is BS, I shouldn't have to do this, I pay my tag level. And of course, you know, we had 4 guys and 1 woman, and he's blowing out the nice young lady who came to help us. And he was very obstinate. And the other one was just like, you know, this is a pain in the neck, I got a company vehicle, what do you want me to do? I don't register at town, the company registered at ABC town or whatever. What am I supposed to do? And then we had one guy who, you know, I borrowed my dad's truck to get rid of some stuff.
That would be a point for the RFID system. Well, you just take your tag and take it with you in the truck you're using.
Yeah.
But,
No,
yeah.
matches the license plate to the sticker number. And the sticker-
Depends on how it's done.
This is the way that I've experienced it, because you can't take the ID sticker and put it on another vehicle, it won't work if the license plate is different. And.
That's a more complex system.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
no confrontation, enforcement, you know.
If we're
Which is fair.
If we're turning people away, I would think that having a police officer there would be advisable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we could just,
Just
Like
if it's
one
2
day
people,
we-
it's less people, and, you know.
one day we asked one of the Hopkinton police, and another, we asked one of the Webster police to come with us and go for it.
So should we try to coordinate through you and Dana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's not gonna be like, other than, hey, we should do that, that's not really a board decision or a quorum sort
Yeah.
of thing, so.
Yeah.
So I think we should start advertising now that this is going to be happening so that more people
Right,
can get there.
And-
Not advertising when it's happening, but that it is happening
Right.
in the
Yeah.
very near future, and you better have your sticker.
Do you think we have a lot of people from out of town coming to the dump? No.
Yeah, well, a lot.
I mean, what are we talking, yeah,
We had
like
between
20%, we don't
8
have
and
that
10.
many, maybe a few, 1%
Between 8
maybe.
and 10 or 11, so it was 5%-ish.
Yeah.
Which is more than I would have expected.
Mm.
I was surprised.
How much does a sticker cost?
About to be $5.
Right now,
No,
it
no,
doesn't
no,
cost
no,
anything.
to make the stickers that now just go for lifetime, that we just slap on, how much does this cost the town to buy?
Cents.
All right.
Less than a buck.
Bosquen has a sticker program, it's when you register your car, you get the current you get a new sticker every year, which matches the plate number, register, whatever. Now they change the color on the plates. So it makes it easily detectable.
And that was brought up as something to look at going forward. We just haven't gone down the discussion route of, do we wanna do something like that with stickers? Do we wanna do something with RFID and gating? Do we wanna have which different methods of enforcement are paying and what it should be? And so that's what we need to schedule to have that discussion.
And one thing with Bosquen, it's one town, so that, you know, they
Yes.
don't have to coordinate between two others. That makes it a lot easier.
Yes, but there
But
are
after
some
their
people
town
that
meeting-
would go into Bosquen.
I'm sorry, what?
and there would be people that could go into Bosquen without a sticker and they would get turned away. Enforcement is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
How you be at RFID, somebody standing there with the police officer, whatever, it's enforcement is the thing that makes it all work. I see it that way, you know, that's, and how that gets accomplished either needs to be automated or a highly visible sticker that coordinates, so somebody can glance to look at it, be it put it on the right-hand side of the windshield instead of on the left-hand side of the windshield, because that's the way they approach the hopper anyways, you see it that way quicker. I don't have all the answers, I'm just thinking out loud.
I'm also thinking that once they know that somebody's gonna be paying attention and checking things, you'll probably see a lot less of that and a lot less hassle on the dump people. I think it's gonna be a pain in the butt at first, but,
I hope,
you know, when you get the word around, oh, you just can't go to Hopkinton and Webster dump anymore, cause they're gonna check your sticker.
I hope the people that do it are bored to tears.
Right, right.
There's nobody,
Well, you know what I mean, once the
Yeah.
word gets
Oh, yeah.
out, maybe it won't be
Yeah.
perfect, it won't be perfect, but
But,
just like anything.
all right. Is
You can get
there
away with it, you can get away
any
with
of the other
Okay.
topics or that you want to discuss before we call that good for the joint portion of the meeting?
I'm good.
Good.
No, thank you.
Good start.
I will ask one
Hopefully a
question.
fresh start.
I will ask one question of you, and maybe you haven't decided as a board yet, and that's an okay answer too. But based on your action at the previous meeting that I saw to no longer deal with enforcement of green bags, are you planning to take a removal of the green bag program warrant article to your town meeting?
I would like to,
I think that was the consensus, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And go
To
back to
formalize
the
it,
drawing
yeah.
board, hopefully.
Just so that we're aware, because then it makes enforcement easier if you're not trying to enforce 5 different things from different places. So,
And we'll
Yeah.
withdraw it, and then you're gonna have a pay by
I know, I was
bag
gonna say
program.
that.
Probably not in this town.
As I've said before,
We'd have to get new people.
I have no problem putting said program on the warrant article, because I have no problems allowing the public to choose. I would bet money, like 99% money, that it would fail hard.
That's why he said we'd have to have a lot of new residents.
So,
Well, having written a Webster paper for 40 years, I'd say that has no chance of passing.
Yes, many more
Okay, well.
discussions to come.
thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming over.
Just think in a couple of months or next year, we'll have it all straightened out.
Right.
So it is 7:42. We'll take about a minute or so,
Have a
No
good
more
evening.
trash talk?
and then we'll get Russ over here to
Wise
handle our
guy.
abatements and anything else.
Yeah. They're not. Handing us forms.
There are 2 abatements, it was originally 1. That came in on Friday, the one from Mandy, which is the last abatement we had outstanding.
I cannot sign in purple ink, right? I have to sign in black.
Yeah, we'll share it.
Yeah. we
Cause
can
I
share.
had, No, you put them in here.
You throw your pens away.
I had a
this
pencil,
one-
I love my pencils, yeah.
It's for Brandon Malinsky. Remember that they did the controlled burn last year on the property for the training for the fire
Yeah,
department?
yeah.
They hadn't removed the house prior to the printing of the first bill,
Oh.
so we need to abate that.
Oh.
Because it got billed on the,
Bill for a house that's
yeah, it's not
been
bad.
burned.
This
Good for
is
them for paying attention, I wouldn't even have thought of
You
that.
sign that.
This is the next abatement, this is for 874 Battle Street. The evaluation was not correct. And Mandy does a pretty good job explaining why she changed it based on the abatement application. But the gist of it was, she feels that the assessors overvalued it based on market conditions, and then she cites various houses that have sold recently and the conditions that they were in.
We need the chair to bring a special pen. All right, so this one is the,
I can turn the light on, so.
I mean, and
really see it.
why would we argue with that? We're not, we're not the specialists in this, but they did
And that's
depreciate.
kind of like we said the
That's
last
what it
time with the
was.
other one, it's if you deny it and then it goes to the Board of Land and Tax Appeals.
Then it goes
Then
expensive.
the assessors aren't gonna defend it at the Board of Tax, the select board would have to come in and defend the numbers themselves.
Was? Hey,
Yeah.
that's a direction you don't see very often. Well, here, you sign first, Dave.
Oh,
Keep you out of trouble.
And those are the two
That's not
abatements. And then the next one is just property inventory forms, if we wanna use them again this year, it's time to order.
Oh, I saw that in my
Oh,
thing.
lucky us.
So if we wanna use them this year, we'd have to sign up,
And why wouldn't we?
it's up to the board.
Dave, you got some big reason why we're not gonna?
no, the easiest and most common reason to stop doing so is because you've adopted a building.
Right, cool,
code
yeah, yeah.
We
yes.
have a
And permit
permitting
process.
process, which we don't have currently,
That's
and
right.
from the discussion that I've
Even
had,
though the town of Hennecker brought it back.
they brought it
Yes,
back.
they did. Yes, isn't that crazy? Right?
never heard
They're-
of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, cause
Well,
I remember
that's nice,
getting
though.
it and I'm thinking to
Hey,
myself.
So,
And then it went away again, but they brought it back for some reason, I can't remember, but it was, you know, Henneker's been a
That's-
building permit.
I could see if, like, a town says, maybe we won't have gotten permits for all the
You can sign it.
random internal stuff or something like that. Or if like the permit only covers residents but not everything. And so every 5 years they do it, or every
Yeah.
3 years or
Maybe,
something.
maybe that's what it was too, Dave. I don't know. I just remember thinking, oh wow, I always thought these
That
were
would
because of
kind
that.
of make
Part of the
sense.
RSA is you're supposed, if you're following this one, you have to do it annually, cause that's just the way the law works. But,
They make
oh,
it
when I
e-
asked the question, cause I know I'm bringing up timber stuff, is we're getting to signing of documents unless you wanna do public comment.
They've gone.
Yeah, well,
I've
I'm
gone, but this is the timber bill. And I did ask Rick Evans, and I did ask, and he said he knew some other towns were having the select board assign somebody else to sign for them. They didn't know how to do it, so he said ask NHMA. Asked NHMA, and they said it's not legally possible.
Oh, jeez, oh my God.
So I'm like, we could ask our own town attorney, but I don't think it's really worth
No,
spending the
yeah.
money, considering you only sign like 8 a year.
I would agree.
Yeah,
At
right.
most.
No, it's not worth it, that's for sure. You're the person for that.
Well, you guys don't really wanna know my exact opinion.
Well, I did ask.
I
Well,
guess.
thank you for checking all of that
Well,
for us.
It
The
would
city,
make my life
the city
easier
of
too.
Concord, it's that does not go to a, but there again, it's a city. I
Yeah.
mean, it's probably
Yeah, so
different.
a
Well, they
city
have
will
every
have, like,
person to
articles
work
of
on it.
incorporation
Well, they also
and stuff like
probably
that,
have
too.
their chief assessor. do
Yeah,
it or
right, they have
something.
all their own people,
Yeah.
exactly.
Whereas we don't have assessors really, we
Yeah.
have a contract.
They had everything in Concord, geez, my husband used to work for them.
So,
Checking the numbers.
yeah, because I just had an issue in another town, which we got the bill and it was like, oh my God, she put 3% rating. So it took the woman's tax and like tripled it.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh.
Three,
But I was
that's
looking
three.
at what it's 66%, so what,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm assuming did you have a piece of paper?
I did not.
No, so how come you don't do just 50%?
I did 66 because it's on Battle Street. So when Ryan talked to Rick Evans about it, if it's a state road, it's in good condition. It's above average condition, so you give it a 2.
Okay.
You got a professional.
No. Anyways, yeah, whatever,
You
it's not my
signing
tax
that?
bill, I think we should run up to 50% along the, yeah, cause that's an interesting way to look at it, Rick, but, yeah, interesting.
You wanna sign
Yeah.
that? Under protest?
Yeah, pretty much, but, cause that's not even a very big sale.
No.
That's a,
So that's about
actually,
average for
no,
Webster.
well, but let me tell you, that's a sale right there that could be, that should have been, size of sale should have been almost zero.
This is about the normal size bill we get for this town.
No, but I'm just saying you that 40,000,
Oh.
yeah, but,
And then we have, of course, the wonderful signing of bills and bank statements, if you wanna go through those and take a look. I think
Oh, this is the credit card one.
the credit card bills.
As I say, because I thought we did the other one.
Dana
already.
said there was a pretty sizable credit card bill for a welfare case, so
Oh,
you shouldn't worry about that one because
nothing we can do
we're gonna
about
get
it.
it back.
Oh, we are? Boy, there's a
That'll be
dream.
nice.
I was gonna say, that's a
Well,
dream.
yeah, I'm sorry.
It's one of those, the person will either pay it back or you'll get it back eventually when the house sells.
Oh, jeez.
Hmm.
It may not be immediately, but it will be eventually. I think there's more than one thing to sign in there.
Oh, there is?
Oh, sorry.
I just wanna make
Slap
sure.
you.
I wanna
I know.
make sure everything gets signed, so
Well,
I'll,
normally he covers all of the stuff.
I just wanna make sure, cause I wanna make sure everything's covered and I do a good job, so when Dana comes back,
You don't get into trouble?
I don't get in
Oh,
trouble.
Dana's
Well,
on
Dana won't be
vacation.
upset, you know who will be upset, and, ping.
Now, so this one only covers the Unitil stuff on the bills, so there's not additional to sign here.
Oh, nothing, okay.
Did he not have credit card? This is what he gave me. for
Man,
you
after I
guys to
saw
sign.
public service, I mean, Eversource going up again, I think we should get on
Oh,
Unitil.
everybody's going up again.
It's ridiculous.
And
Unless you
most,
guys signed it last week when
the-
you came in.
the majority of town is Unitil.
Except us.
It's our side that's
I think we
Eversource.
should get on Uni, can we do that?
Nope.
I'll ask him about it. Worst case scenario. we
Well, you have a
to
solar
guys
thing
can
too, does that
come.
help? Yeah, well, I
That's
might
all
have a
he
solar
gave me
thing
left
too.
for me.
The higher the
Is it
price
myself
is
you
from
bought?
Eversource,
His
the better it
sister
is for
came
me.
Really?
Because I'm giving them
I
rather
was gonna
than
say, I
using.
saw that he was okay,
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah.
I'll tomorrow after he sends his sister
All right.
out.
But-
Don't
but
hype
the-
him
Well, I'd
up.
like to
The
still.
real
oh,
thing
good.
for it is
So
to
he's gonna get
get,
some free legal advice.
Yeah.
there's
Free legal
the
advice is gonna be
power person,
Yeah,
which is the supply
And
where
then
community
minutes.
power, for example.
yep,
You get to pay that instead of dealing with Unitil or Eversource's prices. If you're, but what Eversource has just submitted, is to raise all of their distribution costs through PUC. And that should hit in 2 different waves if approved by the PUC. That'll be, and it'll end up being something like 20%.
Does PUC
by the
ever say
next
no?
Year and a half,
I don't think they ever say no.
but it's in 2 different times.
Yeah. I hate Eversource, shouldn't be on.
We're on the last little bit in a minute.
Did we
All
sign,
right.
did we
What's
sign all
left?
that stuff?
Minutes.
Oh, yes, minutes.
Did
That's
we
it.
sign all that stuff?
Well, we
And
make
that's
a
the only
motion.
thing I have in the folder, so unless Dana hid something on me.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay.
You're not even gonna read them?
Did you both get a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes, I did, but, don't ask me for any spelling mistakes.
Spelling mistakes.
Or I have
Unless
to
Dave
remember what we
found
talked about.
We need our editor to go through this.
Oh, come on, geez.
Yeah,
Our editor in chief.
come on, did you find any?
No, I didn't.
Dana mentioning something about more bills.
What was that? Oh,
Maybe they're in a separate thing that he decided not to send yet.
Maybe. We said, this is where I put the folder on your desk, this is everything in it, I'm like, okay, and I grabbed it and carried it up to the meeting.
okay, so should we make a motion to accept these
Yeah, you should.
minutes of Monday, June 3rd, 2024? There's no non-public, I don't believe.
Correct.
No. Okay. Second, we have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
All right. Is there any further business that the board would wish to discuss?
I
Or
don't
that
have
Russ has to bring up?
Right.
Don't have anything for once.
Russ, have you checked all your folders?
Is there any reason for a non-public that anybody knows of?
Right.
No, I don't know anything.
With that, I would move that we conclude this meeting at 7:54.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
and I get to go home and go to bed.
Well, what do you think the rest of us do? Well, Dave might not, but.
Normally I would go to bed, but
What was that? Are you picking on us?
Place.
No, I'm picking on
Yeah.
Dave, really.
I'm not.
So Dana